Hi everyone. What you're about to watch is the steps I took to change my kitchen faucet. It was actually filmed over 3 days. This is at the extreme outer limits of what I can do and what I'm capable of with my physical disability. I do find it really rewarding. I enjoyed preparing this for you. I hope you'll like it, and I also hope it'll help you. Here we go. I'm getting ready to replace the new faucet. So this is the new one that I've purchased. It needs the third hole added because of this. This is what would connect to a spray hose if I ever choose to add it. So the original holes are already here. If you don't have the original holes, you can use this gasket to mark them so you know where to drill, and so you'll be happy with the position of the tap. You would drill the two outside holes and they match those ones. What I did with the center one is took my pencil and traced where it was, and then I drilled a hole in the center just so you could see it on the video. And now I'm going to finish drilling that hole through. This is a 1-inch drill bit. It happens to be a circular one. There are also spade bits which look like a garden shovel. And you can see that I've got the hole started. I'll be back once I finish with the hole being drilled. The hole I drilled is now complete. It's this hole right here. So what that allows for is this middle section right here to be countersunk and go below the countertop like this. Now, before I actually put the tap permanently in place, I'm going to remove this end cap and attach a hose that allows you to fill up the crock pot, dishes when you're cooking, or else, for example, when I wash the floor. So we'll continue the video at my chair to show you the next step in preparing for this. What I want to talk about in this segment is making the water connections watertight. So this is the old faucet. So I'm talking about the water supply line that joins on here as well as the other side. So option number 1 is Teflon tape. And on the inside of the package, it's this stuff right here. And option number 2 will be a liquid version which says with PTEE. This is a contractor size. There's a very thin tube about the size of my finger that's available for household chores. The only thing I'll caution you with the liquid version is I haven't had success doing a brass on brass fitting with it, at which point I've had to revert back to the Teflon tape. So I'll start with using Teflon tape as an example. What you want to do is put it on the same directions that the threads go on this. So the threads on this one start right there, and it wraps around, and you'll see it going up and up and up. So you want to wrap the Teflon tape that same direction, and you would literally go around 1, 2, 3, and then rip it. Okay, and that's what you end up with. If you don't go the same direction as the threads, the tape tends to bunch up and start coming off when you go to make it watertight. Now, the liquid version of this is easier, although there is a skill to it as well. So you can't put the liquid version on the first row of threads or you risk blocking the water flow. I don't claim to do this that often. This was left over from another project, and that's the only reason I have the contractor version here. Okay. So you literally paint this stuff on or brush it on. I do have way too much on the brush part. So you end up with something like this. And you don't want any on the top thread like I've got right here. So you really need to be careful that there's only a little bit on the brush. And then when you join it on, it basically forms a dam on the inside. And you'll see a little dam form wherever the water valve connection ends. Okay, both work, and I would suggest to you that most people end up with a preference of one or the other. Since I started using the liquid version, I would not go back to Teflon tape myself, except for brass on brass fittings. And I also wear old clothes for what just happened. Like down here on my leg, you can see I've dropped it on myself a little bit. Okay, I'm not saying I'm super experienced with the liquid version, but the liquid version makes it easier and there's less likely to be a leak when it's not brass on brass. So let's continue with the process now. I've gone out and purchased this handheld hose that could be used to fill pots. And I'm going to make it work with the faucet that I purchased. So as I showed in the previous clip, I've got the connection here prepped. Now I need to drill the hole for this to go on. So I wanted to make it look like it came with the faucet originally. So I thought the idea of using 8-inch centers would look professional. So here's where the cold water will be. So I've gone ahead and started to mark the hole right here that this hose will come out of. So I'm going to go ahead and start drilling this hole now. This is a spade bit. It's the other style instead of a circular bit that I used when I drilled this hole here. You can see that the hole is underway right there. So I'll come back once I have it all drilled out. Okay, what you're looking at right here is the hole that I've drilled for the faucet to go through. This is the holder that I've decided upon. Since the faucet did not include the hose. I had to figure out what I would use for a hose. This piece here is actually a 3/4 inch to 1 inch reducer that's made out of PVC. It would normally be used in electrical plumbing. I've simply spray painted it black and given the paint time to cure. This matches the black hose that I've purchased. The key with painting plastic is multiple light coats and extra curing time. Okay, so the next step of this is to protect the wood here from moisture. Countertop wood, when it gets wet, just swells and it wrecks. So I've got my caulking gun out, and I've got just a dab of clear silicone on my finger right here, and I'm just going to rub it around into the wood the same as you would put lotion on your body during the winter to prevent your skin from drying out. Okay, and I just need a little bit more for the far side here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's all done now. So this needs to cure. 12 hours is the bare minimum that I can give for this particular type of caulking. I do understand that the kitchen sink and kitchen water is essential, and it's a huge inconvenience when you can't use it. There is a 3-hour curing caulking now on the market. I just happen to have had this one here, but the 3-hour curing caulking on the market would be a good idea for this type of project, so you can get your water back up and running again quickly. There are other steps I can keep taking to getting the hose connected and the faucet in place. So I'll keep working on this while this goes ahead and cures. Now I'm going to use my PL 9000 to glue what I'm using for the faucet holder into place. So I did not spray paint the bottom of it. I've got a very thin bead of it, and it's just going to sit on here like this. And that lines up with the hole on the inside. Here's a top-down look into the hole that I drilled for the hose to come through the countertop. You'll see that the PVC part that I've used is centered, and then the hose will just come through here, and then it'll go back down when it's returning after use. I'm now going to prepare the faucet holes with silicone. I'm going to do the same as what I did with the hole for the hose by massaging in silicone into all 3 holes. There we go. So I'm just rubbing it in, just into the wall there, and it kind of makes the wood look a shade darker. Part of why I'm doing this is I am planning on selling my home within the next few years. It's unlikely that I'm going to get out of the wheelchair now, and I want to leave this house better than how I found it. Now, that in itself actually wasn't that hard, and it's already been long achieved. This was a handyman special home. The actual reason why I'm changing the kitchen faucet was because what was there split on me. So this isn't planned, I'm just responding to it. But I still want to do a good job. I take pride in the tasks that I undertake. And it takes on a deeper meaning because the effort that it takes me on account of the pain that I experience. There we go. Okay, I'm happy I've got all 3 holes. So once I clean off my fingers, I'll continue. The next step is to get the faucet secured in place. So what this means is putting silicone around the holes, putting the gasket on, putting the faucet into the holes, and then securing it from underneath with one of these lock nuts under both the hot and the cold water. So let's take these steps now. I want to point out that there's a lip on this. The lip faces up for this particular faucet. Okay, so I'm going to get the silicone here. And when I'm using clear silicone, so it's going to be harder to see on camera, but all I'm doing is making a bead to go around each holes so water will never penetrate the holes. Okay, and there's the second one. And now the third one. Okay, that's done. And that's the end of the silicone for this project. Now the gasket sits right here. And with the tap sort of facing forward so it won't hit the wall, it goes into the holes like that. Now I'm going to tighten them underneath, and you'll watch it getting tightened. Then after it's tightened, I'll bring you down here for a look. So I'm doing the cold water tap right now. It's in place, and now I'm going to do the hot water one. Oh. There's something called cross threading. That's where you put something on crooked and it would imprint the metal into the plastic lock nut that I'm using right now. So it's really important to be careful when you put these on that you're actually getting it on straight. Now what I'm doing is tightening it up equally on between the cold and the hot water, and just making the final adjustments right now. Good. Okay, and that's good. Here's a look under the kitchen sink with the lock nuts now securing the faucet into place. They're on the left and right, and then approximately in the middle is the hookup for the hose that I'll be adding. It's now time to feed the hose into the hole right here. Okay, Okay, and here it goes. Okay, and that'll be enough for my initial purposes. What I'm working to do is get the hose connected to its spot on the faucet. So we'll continue under the sink. The water supply lines as well as the hose are now connected. The hose is in the middle and then the water supply lines on the left and the right. All that remains now is for me to watertight test the connections. Once I've done that, I'll be back to report how it went. I want to talk now about water tightness and how I check for water tightness. I do a twofold approach. The first part is there anything obvious that's leaking? I.e., can I see a drip? And yes, I could. I forgot that the brass on brass doesn't work well with the liquid version of Teflon tape. I had to remove the hose, use the Teflon tape, wrapping it around 3 times and screwing it back in, and then it was watertight. The second step I take is to use either a piece of toilet tissue paper or a tissue that you'd use for your nose and rubbing it around the joins. So this is watertight. In this situation, I will leave a towel on the floor for 2 to 3 days, and I will take one final check at the 3-day mark. Water can do a lot of damage. Dry rotting is an example. So I will check that the towel is dry in the 2 to 3 day mark. I forgot to mention earlier on, when you're using a liquid version of Teflon tape, you need to ensure that it is suitable for potable water, i.e. that it isn't going to poison your body. And secondly, that the PSI rating is higher than the PSI for your home's water pressure. And I did confirm this before starting the project for the particular solvent that I showed you. I'm now getting the last step of this done. So it's to put a bead of silicone around the base of this hose. Now, you could use the caulking gun to go all the way around it, but it's going to be tricky because the tightness for in behind. So I've just put a dot of silicone on my finger, and I'm just going to rub it in to where the countertop and the hose meet. Or sorry, the hose holder, I mean. Okay, that's done. Now, just to make it look pretty, I've just wet my finger, and now I'm just going around it to clear away any caulking that has landed on the countertop. There we go. And wasn't tight to the holder. As I said earlier, I take pride in my work, and I want this to look nice for myself and when the time comes to sell the house. The project's now complete. I hope this was helpful to you as you watched. And I want to thank you for the time you spent with me. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.